There's a saying in show business, the rarest performances leave the longest impact. The same logic applies to life. The more available something is, the less we appreciate it. Have you ever wondered why we cherish moments that are fleeting? Why does the last day of school feel more emotional than the ones before it? Why does a once-in-a-lifetime concert feel more magical than music we listen to every day? Because scarcity creates value. When something is rare, when something is not always within reach, we crave it, we treasure it, and we respect it more. Take the stars in the sky. They don't shine every night with the same brightness. Some nights they hide, making us long for their return. Imagine if the night sky was always flooded with the same constellations. Would we still admire them the same way? Or would we take them for granted? The truth is, mystery and absence create a sense of appreciation. That's why the moon seems more beautiful when it's not full all the time. Think about your favorite actor. If they released a film every week, would you still be excited to watch them? No. The reason a Shah Rukh film feels like a festival is because it doesn't happen every day. The wait makes it special. The anticipation builds excitement. If every performance was easily available, would people still stand outside theaters at 6 a.m. just to get a ticket? Of course not. The rarity, the unpredictability, that's what makes the moment precious. This applies to relationships too. If you are always available, always the one texting first, always the one adjusting your schedule, people start expecting it. They don't think of it as kindness, they think of it as normal. And the moment something becomes normal, it loses its magic. Think of a cup of tea on a rainy day. It feels special because it's different from every other ordinary moment. But if it rains every day, if tea is always in your hands, the charm disappears. Let's talk about love. The greatest romances in history, Romeo and Juliet, Laila and Majnun, Raj and Simran, were built on longing, on the idea that true love is valuable because it is not always within reach. Imagine if Raj and Simran sat next to each other in college every single day, always texting, always meeting. Would their love story feel as magical? No. Because love, when it has distance, when it has a little bit of space, grows stronger. It's the wanting that makes it meaningful. Even in friendships, this rule applies. Think of that one friend who is always free, always saying yes, always dropping everything to be there. At first, it feels nice, but over time, people assume they have nothing else going on. Now, think of the friend who is busy, who has a life full of passion, work, and dreams. When they make time for you, it feels like a gift. Why? Because you know their time is valuable. The difference is not in the love, it's in the perceived value of availability. Luxury brands have mastered this art. They don't sell products that are easy to get. They make people wait. They create exclusivity. That's why people spend fortunes on a handbag or a watch, because not everyone can have it. If the same item was available at every street corner, its charm would fade. The same principle applies to us as individuals. If we are always accessible, always easy to reach, we lose our sense of uniqueness. In life, it is important to set boundaries, not because we want to be distant, but because we want to be respected. People value what they have to earn. If your presence is always guaranteed, if your kindness is never ending, people stop seeing it as special. That's why the most powerful individuals in the world are those who choose where to invest their time rather than giving it away freely. So don't be the song that plays on repeat until no one listens anymore. Be the melody that people wait for, the one that leaves an impact. Be like the first drop of rain after a hot summer, the one that people cherish, remember, and look forward to. Because when something is rare, it's valued. And when something is valued, it's never forgotten. Giving is one of the most beautiful things a person can do. It's an act of kindness, love, and generosity. But here's the catch. Not everyone values what is given freely and without limits. The more you give, the more people start expecting. And sometimes, instead of appreciating, they begin to take you for granted. That's why it's important to give but not overgive. Because when you overextend yourself, you don't just lose your energy, you lose your value in the eyes of others. Think about it this way. Imagine you have a golden goose. Every day it lays one golden egg. If you take the egg and use it wisely, it's a blessing. But what happens if you keep pressuring the goose to lay more eggs than it naturally can? Eventually, the goose will become weak, and one day it may stop laying eggs altogether. That's what happens when you keep giving without limits, whether it's your time, love, effort, or energy. At some point, you'll feel drained, and the people who once cherished your generosity might not even realize the toll it has taken on you. This happens in relationships all the time. There's always that one person who loves a little too much, who gives endlessly, who says yes to everything. They're the ones who always answer calls, always adjust their schedules, always put others first. At first, it seems like they're building strong relationships. But over time, something shifts. People start expecting their presence rather than appreciating it. They assume that no matter what, this person will always be there. And that's where the problem begins. When something is always available, people stop seeing it as special. Think of a river. If water keeps flowing endlessly, people don't stop to admire it. But when a small waterfall appears in the middle of a dry land, people pause, appreciate, and even marvel at it. The key difference? One is rare, the other is constant. Love, effort, and kindness work the same way. If you keep pouring everything you have without limits, people will drink from your well without ever considering how deep it runs. But if you give in meaningful moments, people will treasure what you offer. Even in professional life, overgiving can be a trap. Imagine a workplace where you're the person who always says yes to extra work, who stays late without being asked, who takes on responsibilities that others avoid. At first, you might think you're being helpful, that your hard work will be recognized. But often what happens is that people start dumping more work on you because they know you won't say no. Instead of appreciation, you get expectation. Instead of a thank you, you get another task. Why? Because you taught them that your time and energy are unlimited. The same colleagues who once praise your dedication might start seeing you as someone who is just there to get things done. The promotions, the special assignments, the rewards, they'll often go to the ones who know how to balance their availability, the ones who work smart, not just hard. The lesson here is simple: give, but don't overgive. Love, but don't lose yourself in the process. Help others, but don't forget to help yourself. There's a reason why on an airplane they tell you to put your oxygen mask on first before helping others. If you keep giving without replenishing yourself, one day you'll run out of air, and no one will notice until you're struggling to breathe. One of the biggest myths in life is that love and kindness should be unlimited. The truth is, the best kind of love is one that is balanced. A love that knows when to give and when to hold back. A love that is strong, not because it is endless, but because it is given in the right amount, at the right time. If you are always the one making an effort, step back and see who notices. If you are always the one giving, stop for a moment and observe who actually appreciates it. The people who truly care will meet you halfway. The ones who only take will start wondering why their world feels a little emptier without you constantly filling it. So give, but wisely. Be kind, but not at the cost of your own well-being. Because at the end of the day, the most valuable gifts are not the ones given endlessly, but the ones given thoughtfully. Time is the most valuable asset you own. It is more precious than money, more fleeting than success, and more irreplaceable than anything you can buy. Yet, too often, we give it away freely without considering its worth. We answer every call, reply to every message, say yes to every request, and show up even when we don't feel like it. But here's the truth. Your time is a luxury, and not everyone deserves unlimited access to it. The moment you start treating it like something rare and valuable, others will too. Think about the most exclusive things in the world. Luxury brands don't sell their products on every street corner. They don't make them available to just anyone. Instead, they control access, create demand, and ensure that only a select few can own them. That exclusivity is what makes them desirable. The same principle applies to your time. If you are always available, always saying yes, and always present whenever someone calls, your time stops being special. People begin to assume that you will always be there, and in doing so, they stop valuing you. Have you ever noticed how people react differently to someone who is hard to reach? The moment a person becomes slightly unavailable, others suddenly want more of their attention. It's human nature. We desire what we cannot easily have. That's why celebrities, billionaires, and highly successful people don't give everyone direct access to their time. They understand that time is their most valuable currency, and they protect it fiercely. They don't answer every call, they don't attend every event, and because of this, when they do make time for something or someone, it feels like an honor. The problem is most people don't realize this until they've already overgiven their time. You might think you're being kind by always saying yes, always making yourself available, always adjusting your schedule for others. But what actually happens? People start expecting it. They stop appreciating it. And worst of all, they don't even notice when they're wasting your time. A 5-minute favor turns into an hour-long task. A quick chat turns into an endless rant about their problems. Before you know it, your entire day is filled with things that don't serve you, don't fulfill you, and don't bring you any closer to your own goals. This happens in friendships, relationships, and even in professional life. Think about the person in the office who is always the first to say yes to extra work. At first, they seem helpful, but soon that extra work stops being appreciated. It becomes an expectation. The people who know how to set boundaries, who understand that their time is limited, are the ones who get ahead. They are the ones who get respect, promotions, and better opportunities. Why? Because people value what they have to earn. The same applies to relationships. If you are always available, always responding instantly, always the one making an effort, the dynamic starts to shift. What once felt like kindness turns into something expected. There's no excitement, no sense of anticipation, no appreciation for the time you give. But if you step back, if you start valuing your own time and using it wisely, something interesting happens. People start valuing it too. They start realizing that your attention is not a given. It's something they need to earn. And in doing so, they respect it more. One of the greatest lessons in life is understanding that just because someone asks for your time doesn't mean you have to give it. Every time you say yes to something unnecessary, you are saying no to something important, whether it's your own peace, your goals, or the people who truly deserve your attention. Time, once given, can never be taken back. That's why it must be spent wisely. Look at the most successful people in the world. They schedule their time with purpose. They prioritize what truly matters. They know that their energy is not infinite, so they choose where to invest it. And that's the key. Your time is an investment. Spend it on people who uplift you. Use it on things that bring you joy. Protect it from those who take it for granted. Because at the end of the day, time is not just something you pass, it's something you spend. And if you spend it wisely, it'll bring you everything you desire. But if you give it away carelessly, one day you look back and wonder where it all went. So guard it, cherish it, and most importantly, make sure that those who receive it are truly worthy of it. Respect is the foundation of everything in life. Your relationships, your career, and most importantly, your own self-worth. But respect doesn't start with how others treat you. It starts with how you treat yourself. The way you allow people to interact with you, the way you set boundaries, and the way you value your own presence dictate how the world sees you. If you don't respect yourself first, don't expect others to do it for you. Too often, people confuse kindness with self-sacrifice. They think that in order to be loved, appreciated, or accepted, they must always say yes, always be available, and always put others before themselves. But the truth is, when you consistently put yourself last, people start to believe that's where you belong. They assume that your time, your energy, and your emotions are endless resources they can tap into whenever they please. And before you know it, you find yourself exhausted, drained, and worst of all, unappreciated. Think about a doormat. It's always there, always available for people to step on. It doesn't complain, it doesn't move, and it doesn't set boundaries. But here's the reality. Nobody respects a doormat. They wipe their feet on it and move on without a second thought. If you allow people to take you for granted, if you allow them to disrespect your time and your energy, they will continue to do so. Not because they are bad people, but because you never taught them to do otherwise. Respecting yourself means setting boundaries. It means understanding that you are not responsible for making everyone else happy at the cost of your own happiness. It means realizing that you don't have to say yes to every request. You don't have to tolerate disrespect. And you don't have to be available just because someone expects you to be. People will always take as much as you allow them to. That's human nature. But the moment you start valuing yourself, the moment you start setting limits, people begin to see you differently. They start treating you with the respect you deserve. This applies to every aspect of life: friendships, relationships, work, and even family. How many times have you agreed to do something you didn't want to do just because you were afraid of disappointing someone? How many times have you ignored your own needs just to keep the peace? Every time you do that, you send a message that your feelings and priorities are not as important as those of others. But here's the truth, they are. Your time matters, your emotions matter. Your presence is a privilege, not an obligation. Respecting yourself also means knowing your worth. You are not defined by how much you do for others. You are not measured by how much people need you. Your value does not decrease just because someone fails to see it. The moment you start believing in yourself, the world has no choice but to believe in you too. Confidence is contagious. When you walk into a room knowing that you deserve to be there, others feel it. When you speak with conviction, people listen. And when you refuse to tolerate disrespect, people learn to treat you with the dignity you deserve. Think of the most respected people in the world: leaders, visionaries, icons. Do they beg for attention? Do they overextend themselves to please everyone? No, they know their worth and they move with purpose. They are generous, but not at the cost of their own self-respect. They help others, but they never let themselves be walked over. That is the mindset you need to adopt. But respecting yourself is not just about how others treat you. It's also about how you treat yourself. Do you prioritize your well-being? Do you take time for self-care? Do you speak to yourself with kindness? Because if you constantly criticize yourself, if you allow negative thoughts to consume you, you are setting the wrong example for how others should treat you. You must be your own biggest supporter before expecting anyone else to uplift you. And here's the most important part. Self-respect is not arrogance. Some people confuse confidence with ego. But knowing your worth is not about thinking you're better than others. It's about understanding that you are equally deserving of respect, love, and kindness. It's about refusing to settle for less than you deserve, not because you feel entitled, but because you recognize your own value. At the end of the day, the world will mirror the way you treat yourself. If you respect yourself, others will follow. If you demand better, you will receive better. And if you truly believe that you are worthy, then no one, not a friend, a boss, a partner, or society, can convince you otherwise. So stand tall, speak with confidence, set boundaries, and most importantly, never forget that the first person who needs to respect you is you.